Hi guys, it's me, Serenity, here on my way to work. Wanted to give an energy update on my twin flame relationship, on the twin flame dynamic. So, as I mentioned in my previous video, I recently was back in contact with my twin, for which he invited me over and we were supposed to share some time together, but the time was limited, so I declined, and then he understood because we know naturally why each other makes the choices that we do, instinctively, because we are the same person. We are reflective energies existing in a ceaseless synergy. Like it's never ending. And the healing and the triggering is never ending too. That's why it's so important to work through those energies and heal those blockages, because you're just gonna continue to go through hurting each other, because hurt people, and both of us have been hurt when it comes to love and been abandoned to some degree, maybe on multiple occasions, but we chose these experiences because they are a reflection of ourselves. Like if we're vibrating at that level, for which we don't feel some type of sense of self-worth, that's why we feel abandoned. So it's like we're reflecting what we get, so we are what we attract, essentially. And this dynamic is the epitome, the quintessence of you are what you attract, because you are that person in every sense of the word. And then that's when it becomes kind of, it takes some adjusting to knowing that you are connected to somebody this deeply, and that sometimes you have to regain your energy and reclaim your power, because you're so connected to this person. When they do something, it feels like you're giving them your power, and it feels like they're essentially stealing something from you, because you gave it to them in the first place, and you put yourself in the victimhood mentality to even think that you can have something stolen from you. And it can be very conflicting for the divine feminine when, and from my point of view, is that I'm just giving, constantly giving, and I know that giving is making a difference in his well-being, and it's making a difference in mine as well, because I love to give love. I am love. But to give all that love and kind of not have any expectations in return is a tricky thing, because yes, you are deserving of receiving love, but someone can only give you the love that they feel within themselves, and they can only give you the amount of love that they have the capacity of holding. And at this point in time, I think because of the age difference, my twin is just emotionally unavailable, and he isn't the first emotionally unavailable man that I have attracted. And the only reason I've been sticking around is because one of the main differences in this dynamic of relationship is that I'm able to feel through his emotions when he sings in his songs. Because in my other relationships, there was complete emotional detachment, because there was detachment from self, and I was the one connected to my emotions, but I was seen as the one that was oversensitive and just over dramatic, because I was attracting men whose self-defense mechanism was to hold back their emotions for survival purposes, because they were abandoned by their mother, and because they didn't have the proper familial structure to have support, so they had to kind of fend for themselves, and they couldn't show any emotions. So I was attracting those kind of men, and we were kind of counterbalancing each other. And when they weren't opening up enough, when I wasn't getting the emotional fulfillment that I needed, that's when the door shut and the relationship ended, because there was no resonance, and I wasn't able to fully fluidly be myself, because every time I opened up my emotions, I was, like I said, seen as overdramatic, and they couldn't handle it, because I was reflecting a part of them that they aren't able to fully comprehend, and they can't express themselves in that way. And when I seen that as a blockage, I just disassociated myself from that situation. And I always felt so much guilt for leaving, because I felt like I was the person that was like, I was like their mother, I was like their nurturer, and kind of trying to build them up to where they needed to be. But I needed to build myself up and connect with my own sense of self and step into my power. And when I did step into my power, they felt triggered as well, because they had a sense of what is that, Napoleon syndrome, like a low sense of self-worth, and they felt disempowered to some degree. And so when I would step up in my power and speak my truth and state my boundaries, they would feel unsettled inside, because when I first came into the relationship, I was kind of all accepting. It was like an all-inclusive kind of thing, an unconditional love kind of thing, because I did love them for who they were. I love everybody for who they are, for where they are and what they are. But when it comes to a relationship, there has to be some kind of both parties have to have their needs met in order for it to be a healthy and balanced relationship. And at the end of the day, my needs weren't met, and they were confused, because it felt like my needs were met because I was putting up with not with whatever. I wasn't getting abused or emotionally abused or anything. It just wasn't the kind of love that I deserved, because I received a deep, whole and fulfilling kind of love from my mother. So that was something that was different. And now in this sense, with my twin had his mother in his life. I don't think he had such a solid relationship with his father, which is something that I didn't have either. So we relate to that sense of being able to nurture each other and kind of be emotionally connected when we are connected in the physical. And he is connected to his emotions through his music, which is how I get to get insight into how he's really feeling. But he's unable to, at this time, be vulnerable in a one-on-one sense and be honest with himself and express those emotions clearly through direct communication. And that's the part that I'm missing, because I'm a 26-year-old woman and I need some kind of emotional direct, fulfillment and nourishment and connection in that way. And I find it attractive when someone is vulnerable, because that means I'm really getting to know who they are, and it makes me feel safer to be vulnerable. And so that's where we're kind of not balancing out each other's needs, because he's kind of on the wavelength that, okay, sex means that she really wants me and that she desires me and that this connection is meaningful, because that's how he connects to his emotions. And I'm like, no, I want to have a conversation about what you're really feeling so that we can connect in that way, and then I will feel sexually stimulated in that way. It's not just a mental stimulation, it's a heart stimulation, it's a heart connection. And I've never really had that with anyone, and so I'm learning that as a lesson through this relationship. No matter where it goes, whether we end up in a romantic relationship with one another, or it just is strictly platonic from here, I really don't know. And that's another thing, is letting go of expectations and kind of accepting and allowing, while still setting up your boundaries for what you will and will not tolerate. Because I was kind of enabling him, which I have a problem with doing, because I don't like changing people. I want them to be fully themselves, but I kind of disempower myself. I bring myself to a disempowered state because they feel disempowered, and then we equal out, but then that's not really me, and that's not really what I'm deserving of. And so it just doesn't add up. So me and my twin were going to meet up, but we didn't. And after the fact, I sent him a couple videos, a couple text messages, just to update him on how I've been doing psychically and some dreams I had been having about him. And things were going well. Well, I mean, he was receiving them and reading them and receiving the love that he needs and he desires and he deserves. But I wasn't receiving what I needed and what I deserved, because I wasn't receiving any response. And at first it was okay, but it's like, I've been here before, we've done this before. Like, why am I here again feeling unfulfilled? And then I just stopped texting him for like a day or so. Then I was like, well, why would I stop being me? Like, that's the beauty of the twin flame dynamic, is that you get to fully be yourself and fully express yourself and fully connect to those deeper parts of yourself that other people might not understand, those spiritual aspects. And so I was like, I'm not gonna just stop just because he's not responding. Like, I want to still be me. I want to breathe and live in my authenticity irregardless, because I want to be a shining example for him to live and breathe in his authenticity. But that's not really my role. Like, it's not mandatory. I mandate myself to do certain things to help other people, and then I disempower myself again. So it's just a cycle of disempowerment. But I kind of felt like I was stepping back in my power by allowing. And in the moment, I was on Facebook, and I was looking at waterfalls, and me and my twin connect to waterfalls because one day when we were in physical union, I came in, I had like silver hair, and I had like divinity emblems on my face, and I was wearing a floral dress, and he was like, oh my God, you look like the woman in my vision that was underneath the waterfall, in a vision that I had, like that it was you. And then as soon as he said waterfall, like my heart melted. I just felt connected to it in such a deep way. And so in any event, I saw this little video clip of a waterfall with a rainbow near it, and we also connect with each other via rainbows. That's another form of symbolism, a synchronicity, basically. So when I see a waterfall or a rainbow, I think of him, and this particular image had a waterfall and a rainbow. So I sent it to him, and he received it, and I just put #heaven, because that would be heaven to us, to both of us. And then afterwards, I was just trying to think, well, I really want to understand this connection to the waterfall so that we can both try to figure it out, because we're here to help each other figure out and realize ourselves through each other. That's the beauty of the twin flame relationship. It's the ultimate realization through the mirror of your twin's soul. And so afterwards, I sent him a pretty beautiful message just stating how I think the waterfall symbolizes that falling doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's like the water is moving with the force of life and falling in such a graceful and beautiful way that it almost makes the notion of falling beautiful and soothing and effortless when you become that force of life and just unfurl and flow with the force. So I sent that message, and then automatically I got blocked. Like, he blocked me and he told me to leave. And so it's like, well, what's happening here? And I'm realizing that when I step into my higher self, and I speak from that powerful state, because the way that I said it, I typed it out was way more eloquent than how I said it just now. It rhymed really beautifully, and it was just like super freaking poetic, and that was my higher self coming through. And whenever I speak from my higher self, just like last time I spoke from my higher self, and I was telling him about our past lives and premonitions, a possible past life or premonition, and basically about how all the karmic and romantic connections that we have are about to fall off. They really are. Like, it's about to be over, because we are rising higher and vibrating higher, and we know what love feels like now. So the stuff that we were feeling before is not really, that's not going to fulfill us anymore. So therefore it's going to fall off. So what I was speaking was indeed a premonition that is happening as we speak. It's unfolding as we speak, and he blocked me as soon as I said it, because I know that he feels the truth in the words that I'm saying, and I think that it scares him that I know that these things are happening. He doesn't want to accept the truth of what is happening. And as I was laying down last night, because I didn't really get that much sleep, as I was laying down, I kind of surrendered to the moment, and I opened up my heart to see how he was feeling. And we're both feeling a similar way. And basically his higher self came to me and told me that he's scared of the feelings that I'm bringing out of him, and he's not able to, although he loves the words that I'm saying and he loves me, he's not yet able to accept the truth of the words that I'm speaking. And thus, when I speak for my higher self, he feels triggered and he feels disempowered, because he's used to being in power and being the master manipulator of situations and maneuvering things to his, highest interest and his highest good. But when you're rising in love, you kind of feel like you're losing that sense of control, because you're surrendering to something greater than you and bigger than you, and it's palpable and it's pure. And that's another thing I said in that message, was that we're tapping into a more pure and righteous love, like where we're not expending our energy in with multiple partners just to fulfill multiple aspects of ourselves, and we can find it all within one another, within each other. But that's going to take time to develop as we realize ourselves. And I also had a dream that I wanted to share with you the other night about my divine masculine, which I shared with him, and he didn't block me when I shared that with him, which was interesting. So, you know, I'm really trying to figure out the intricacies of when we feel triggered, so that we can move past these patterns and these blockages, so we can continue to elevate. Well, I'm going to continue to elevate it. He is too, but I'm going to continue to align with love. I'm not going to continue to allow him to let me feel disempowered and I'm not going to allow myself to settle into a victimhood mentality, because I'm not a victim. Whenever he feels triggered, that means that we both have something that we need to work on, because we're reflecting back to each other something that we need to heal, so that we can be in union with ourselves. And so we need that time to back away and kind of release the pressure and kind of process everything, all of the emotions and all of the information that we're receiving and all of the divine downloads that are coming through, so that we can integrate it into our being, and then thus we will be in union when the timing is right. Again, it's not about what the flesh wants, it's what the soul knows. It's how the soul is orchestrating it for our highest good. We just don't see it. We just don't see it. Like, there's definitely order sneaking beneath the chaos of what we see in our 3D perceptivity. But in any event, hopefully the camera doesn't cut off. I don't know how much memory I have, but I'll try to get to this dream. So in the dream, I was on the Pacific Coast Highway, and I was in Malibu near the ocean, and then all of a sudden there was a tsunami that hit, and there was just waves upon waves washing over me. And usually I would be afraid, but I just felt myself becoming one with the force of the ocean, and my body disintegrated into the water itself, and I became one with the waves. And then at some point a dolphin came into my view, and I was just pure consciousness, I was the heart of the consciousness of the wave, basically. And so I connected with a dolphin. I saw the face of a dolphin in me, and my twin connect with dolphins because of their playfulness and their intelligence. And I immediately thought of my twin, and so I looked down at my phone, even though I couldn't hold the phone because I was pure consciousness. And I was like, wow, why am I looking at the phone? The phone should be off, because I'm in water and I can't even hold it. Like, what's happening? But the phone was still on. And then I immediately looked down at the ocean floor. Was kind of remote viewing from the ocean shore, and I saw 3 versions of my twin, and only one version of him could come up to the surface, and one version of him I felt wanted to run and just embrace me and just be with me. And so I just naturally opened my arms to receive him. But when he came to the surface, another version ended up coming to the surface that had so much energy that he had to expend, and he just ended up going the opposite direction. And at first I felt alone, but then I realized that with each experience that he goes off on and grows through, essentially his consciousness expands, just like with me. I mean, we're never alone, we're always together, so there's no separation consciousness. That was just my ego feeling alone because I didn't have his physical presence, and I know that's what he wants, because he validates it in many forms, telepathically, through his music. It's a known fact that we want to be in physical union, okay? So that's really not the question. So he went off in the other direction, but then I knew intuitively that he had some more lessons to learn. He had some more healing to do, and so do I. If he's working through something, I'm working through something. So that is what it is. And there was just a lot of symbolism in that, just that the fact that we're both becoming one with the force of life and one with the force of love, so that we can use that power and that force to flow effortlessly through life. Like, we don't have to make it as difficult as it is. It doesn't, and we don't have to make ourselves suffer through it either. We only suffer because we expect and we desire things to turn out a certain way, but things are unfolding exactly as they should, whether we know it or whether we know for that to be the truth or not. That is so. And so all in all, the twin flame journey is definitely about soul mastery and emotional mastery, and unlearning to relearn who you really are, to realize who you really are, and wake up to what the mission and what the purpose of your life is, through existing through love, by loving what you do, loving who you are as you are at any given moment, as you transition, as you elevate, as you ascend. Whether you're in union with your twin or not, you're always working towards being in union with yourself, because that is a major point, is integrating within yourself, so that when you guys are together, you won't be continuing to hurt each other, and because that's kind of, I would say that's besides the point, but that's a part of the process. So just continue to stay aligned with love. If you ever feel any sense of doubt, you have the power to transmute it. We are alchemists. We are light workers. We can work with the dark and the light. The dark and the light are only different in seeming. It's all what we make it to be, and we can make it to be for our highest good if we want it to be. We don't have to continue suffering in silence. We don't have to continue to blame our twins or blame anybody outside of ourselves for what we're feeling inside. We have to know how we work and work through our patterns of hurt, so that we can continue to expand our hearts. Because the more that my heart breaks during, whether it's suffering, feeling that I'm suffering with my twin when we're in separation, or